JD. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. My name is Luis Sent. I am the founder of Latin Scent. Really excited to have JD Spinoza, the head of sales at ZoomShift, joining us today. JD's had a great career living in Medellin and now a little farm outside Medellin, and has worked for several American companies. So today, JD has agreed to join us and share his story. JD, if you want to share a little bit about yourself and have some questions prepped, but excited to get your knowledge out here into the world.
Yeah. Thank you for that. My name is JD Spinosa, as you said, leading the sales efforts at ZoomShift now for 3 years. Actually, soon to be 4 in a few months. And yeah, it's been doing great. I am living outside the city. As you mentioned, I was tired of the pollution and everything. And doing well here. I have been in sales now for almost 8, 9 years now. Different types of sales all over, like software really only been about 5 years out of those 9. So kind of like half and half. And yeah, excited to be here.
Thanks, JD. So how did this start? Like, how did you start working for American companies out of Colombia?
Out of sheer luck, a little bit. Also, and boldness on my side. So I started working as a waiter where they needed someone that kind of spoke a little bit of English here and there, so I could, get someone's order for eggs and coffee and whatnot on the touristy side of the city. And from there on, I've always been grinding, trying to warm up. I became kind of like the right-hand man for the owner. And just friends and foreigners that came around saw that, and eventually one offered me a job processing something for him. He asked me if I knew any Excel, and I said yes, absolutely, but I had no idea about any I had no skills on Excel at all. But you kind of just have to jump on these opportunities, right? Like I just, we have YouTube. We live in the age of information. So if you don't know something, you can go and learn it. So I did that, and from there on, eventually ended up in customer service. And then one day, hey, you want to do sales? Initially, I was like, no, but eventually started working on sales and changed my whole view of it. And yeah, that's how I ended up working for U.S. companies.
I love it. So it's all started at a restaurant. So is this in El Poblado? Is it this part of town, or what part of town were you a waiter in?
Yeah. I was in Poblado first. After that, moved to Laureles, which is kind of like similar in terms
Yeah,
of foreigners in there. And yeah,
that's super exciting. So, I mean, when you were that waiter there, did you ever think you're going to be where you're at today now? Like in terms of leading sales for an American company?
not at all. Not in a million years. I was making like $7 a day, and making some tips here and there because thankfully I work for foreigners. But no, not ever. The situation I was in back then to where I am today is miles in distance for sure.
Amazing. I mean, I'm getting the goosebumps just thinking about the how many times you 10x yourself. So you said you knew basic English there, had to take coffee and eggs. But how did you learn English so well? I mean, you sound near native. Maybe an accent, but like I wouldn't. How did you learn English so well? Where do people think you're from when you're traveling or when you're speaking
Yeah,
English? Do they think you're Australian or like what?
yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that. How was that process?
So that process started with me being, first of all, addicted to just pop culture, like U.S. Like TV shows like Friends and Two and a Half Men, etc. They will always show also repeats of Seinfeld like at 5 a.m. when I was getting ready for school. And
So
I was
good.
just like, as I was getting ready and like brushing my teeth, I was like watching all these shows, and all shows repeat in the morning. And I will just like say the lines back at the TV, and also music in general, like a lot of rock music and just generally famous songs are always in English, and I always went online and try to find the lyrics. But that gave me a little bit of vocabulary. But even when I got to practice it a lot. That's what got me to this level was practice, practice, practice. Living and immerse myself with all these foreigners and tourists, etc., making friends with them. I ended up almost like transporting myself to another country. Like when you're like drop in the middle of France, right? You like learn to speak French because you have to, and he surrounds you all the time. That's kind of like what happened to me. Also, I was surrounding myself with foreigners. I ended up then renting rooms to foreigners, and I would just have to speak to them all day, every day, and that got me to a good level of English.
Love it. Yeah, I mean that that goes into what I was going to talk about next. It's like how we met and how we stayed in touch throughout the years. It's amazing, amazing story. Back in 2015, I'm staying at a hostel. I just moved to Medellin with a backpack, and
Yeah,
I'm on Facebook groups looking for where I'm going to live. And here I find JD Spinoza in a nicely, kept apartment with his girlfriend, the fastest internet in the city, which was like, what? Had a gigabyte back then, or like 500 megabytes, but it was insane. I was like, okay, I need to live here. This is amazing internet.
yeah,
And I think there was a German renting a smaller room there, and then I rented another room. But you were house hacking. That's what it's called.
yeah,
House hacking, where you essentially had free rent, but also, I didn't think about it in the terms of the language immersion perspective. Like you were living with people who were speaking English, so like this gave you such a level up in and like you are the five people you surround yourself with. So if you're living with them practicing English, it's an amazing hack. So you were doing a house hack along with a language hack, and then that's when I learned what you're doing. You were servicing these carport dealers across the USA, right? I think you worked at a couple carport companies that you got poached by one to go
yeah,
and lead business there. And you referred them to me at that time to become an SEO client. So it was really, really cool just system and seeing how all that played out. And, at the time I, was building my own agency and, e-commerce consulting and SEO, and wasn't, I was doing sales, but not at the level I am now. And I'd be building, a staffing and recruiting firm, hiring people. But like, fast forward 2 3 years, we needed talent. I was working at a startup, fast growing startup, Mailshake, and we needed talent. We needed really great talent, and we were struggling to find that in the US. For we're a bootstrap company competing against companies offering 70 80K a year base salary for sales reps. We would go bankrupt in 6 months if we ran that experiment right. So when I
yeah,
brought the idea to the founder of Mailshake and Ramp Ventures, it's, hey, I have an old roommate of mine that speaks perfect English, works for American companies. Why don't we start hiring in Colombia? And it was an experiment that proved wildly successful. So yeah, can you talk to me, like, I know what was going on in my head then, like, what about you? Like in when you got that offer to come and join Mailshake, like fast forward, right? You've gone from waiter to working with your friend and doing Excel to working at carports to, just leveled up so many different ways. Like what was your, mindset when you were getting, that offer or presented that opportunity?
yeah. So it was always been similar to that first interaction where this person or this guy asked me, "Hey, do you know any Excel? I need someone to process these orders." Just something where I wasn't even going to be interacting with people, and I said, "Yes, I know it." And in my mind, I was like, even if I don't know it, I'll go on YouTube, I learn, or I even told him, "Look, you teach me something once, I'm not going to be asking you twice or thrice. Like, how does that work? You just show it to me once, and I'm there. I'm there, right there with you." So it's kind of like that, but repeated over the years. If someone asks me, "Hey, do you know how to do this?" Nope, but let's go and find out how to do that. Do you know how to lead a like sales effort at a company? Nope, but let's go and find out. Let's go and do it. It is
Love it.
it's just like sometimes people don't are too afraid to take the leap of faith, and that prevents them from really even you like you can we can start with leading a sales effort and then saying, actually, hey, I just build the tools and the knowledge so I can help other companies hire in Latin, right? Why don't I just change gears and go and do that? Like be have that faith in yourself that you can go and learn anything and just approach it like that. And yeah, I think that's what brought me here.
I love it. I know you're getting some Slack notifications, so if work
Yeah,
calls,
just click
get in,
that.
go answer those. We're in a multitasking world here, and when deals need to be closed, it's first of the month. You got to get that quota in, right? So,
Yeah.
so you were at Mailshake. How long before you moved to head of sales at Zoom Shift?
What was that?
How long were you at Mailshake before you moved?
I was at Mailchimp for about 8 months or so before I moved over to Zumcha.
And was that another leap of faith? I mean, I know I didn't want to lose one of my top reps, but I've read this great book called Multipliers where you don't want to hoard talent, right? You want to multiply talent. You want to release that talent in the wild, and hoarding talent just becomes a it's like hoarding in your house. It becomes unlivable, and
Yeah.
um, it's a horrible situation for the talent. It's a horrible situation for you as a leader, right? You want a reputation where everybody who's worked for you goes and does better things, whether internally at the company or externally. So
Yeah.
it, we obviously missed you when you left, but how's it been? How's your close rate? Like how was it worth it? Do you talk to me about it?
Yeah, definitely. So that was another leap of faith. It's just, yeah, I was actually a SDR at Mailchimp. And then just, hey, want to come over here and figure out leading the sales effort. Like this company had no sales at all. It was all self sign up type deal. And it's like when I, you know, figure it out, and I was like, let's do it. Something new to learn. I'll figure it out eventually. And it's been fun. It's been fun. I've been learning a lot about not just the sales side, but also the structural side of sales, like how to figure out the CRM, automation, Zapier, all of that stuff that were tools that I didn't know how to use before. And kind of like forcing yourself, even if you don't know it, to go and learn it gives you the tools to move up, right? And like you said, yeah, if I stay there, maybe I will have progressed into AE and so on, but it will have taken me a lot of time to get to that level. So yeah, when you have good talent, it was good that I made that move, and it's been great. Closing rates have been working great. Also figuring out how to keep metrics, data, how to work on reports, um, and closing. Right, it is a about a 40% close rate average right now. So um, excited that we've been able to keep that for about almost 4 years now, and figuring out always better ways to close and compete, right? Because it's been getting a lot more competitors, and yeah, happy where I am.
That's incredible. Congratulations on a 40% close rate. I mean, going from nothing, right? Going from all product led sales, introducing a sales motion, building out the CRM, the stages, experimenting with outbound, inbound, all the different
Yeah,
processes from, to get that demo to close rate at a 40% range is, a lot of companies are trying to figure that out. And to be able to do it with Latin American talent is, it's music to my ears. So thank you for sharing the journey. Now, what I would love to hear are, and what our audience would love to hear as well, what are some
yeah,
tips you have for somebody looking to break into sales while living in Colombia? Maybe they've done sales for a Colombian company. This is the first time they're going to work for an American company, or
yeah,
they're working for an American company, but now they want to level up and work for a better one that's paying a bigger salary and has more responsibilities? What are the tips that you have for them to break in to this market and better opportunities?
So some tips would be the one I already mentioned, like having that, just take leaps of faith, right? Um, just to go for them. And even if you might be kind of happy where you are with some, I don't know, a Colombian call center doing some sales and say, well, I'm doing good here. It's like just taking that leap of faith will take you to better levels and not just that one. Like also you can see it as a stepping stone, but um, believe in yourself and go and learn new things. Like we are capable of learning at any stage of our lives. So that's one. Two, it is just discipline a little bit. That especially working for U.S. companies, understanding that time is a different concept on U.S. companies of being punctual, being disciplined, not really needing a lot of supervision to just having that um, self started type personality will help a lot. Those are some of my tips there.
Love it. So, what's been your experience working with American companies in terms of culture? You talked about being punctual. Yes, obviously that's an important one, right? You got to show up to meetings on time.
Yeah,
Run some structures around your demos, and having being the face of a company, being the first actual person. But like, what has been your experience with the culture, having worked for probably what, 4 or 5 American companies now? Do they work you to death like everybody talks about? Are they are they draining you and going into your personal life? Is it, how do you deal with holidays? Like Colombia has, other than India, I think the most holidays. Do you take Colombian holidays,
yeah,
American holidays? How does that work? Taxes and
right.
everything. How, and insurance. Like, how do you set that up and structure that? What's been the culture like for?
So culture differs a lot. So I'll say differs a lot based on the industry in which that U.S. company is in, and also just even within the industry, from company to company, it depends a lot on what that company has made it to be their culture. But that's something that we don't usually pay as much attention here in Colombia, and which rule is starting to be more important when you're deciding where to go and what company to work for. It used not to be important. Colombians were like, I just need a job and I'm going to go and work at this company. We didn't even know what company culture was. It's starting to be a term and something or a thing, um, but it used not to. And now having that culture, it just depends on which company. I work for steel companies in the U.S., steel structures, and kind of like manufacturers, builders type culture where it was widely different from a software company, and it differs. There's a little bit of a chalk there, but in my experience with software companies, they definitely do not work you to death. If you are used to Colombian work hours and Colombian bosses, you are going to be very happy to have made the switch over to a software company in the U.S. It's a different type culture. Even if you have a very entrepreneurial type, like, hey, let's get these done. It's a different way to get things done. It's a different way to use your time. It's a different way to ask you even to get this completed or get that done. I would say is a lot more dynamic, and you feel like you're part of something, right? So yeah, you don't feel like you're working these hours, especially if you have work from home. You feel like you're part of something, and you get your jobs done in a different way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know that. I didn't know that in Colombia, like culture really wasn't something that people looked at when joining a company, right? Like we're in a sense, very privileged here in the U.S. It's like, oh, before I go and join this company, what's their culture like? I'm going to go
Yeah,
read about them on RepView or Glassdoor. I'm going to go in. Oh no, CEO approvals aren't that great. Looks like their salaries are public. Everything is there for them to see, and we live in an age where human like capital is it's precious. It's so hard to get human attention. There's so many different ways that you can go and make money now, and so many different companies that you can work for. So your culture really has to sell your company, and it's amazing now that Colombians are looking at it. At least for the first time, that it's going to change dramatically in the next 10 years as they get presented with more and more opportunity.
yeah, definitely. Because a lot of companies are moving here. So now I would say is the time to get in before it gets crowded. And yeah, the English here is great and everything. And yeah, the culture here is more like, at least for Colombian companies, it's like, hey, you're lucky, to get a job even. So just, you don't even look at what the culture is going to be like, or they don't even post that anywhere. But they're starting to now, and that movement will, I think, will grow and grow. And that's even, I would say, is important to check out now, and it's cool to make it part of your hunt for a job because that's your life basically. So yeah.
Love it. Well, JD, it was a pleasure having you on. Appreciate you sharing your story along with tips for those that want to get started in here, and sharing your experiences across working for different American companies out of Colombia. I'm glad that you moved away from the pollution in Medellin. It's still my favorite city in South America. I will definitely be there this year, so we'll have to connect either at the farm or in the city if you make it back on that motorbike.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm always going to the city. I love the city. There's a lot of things that are great about the city. I was just ready to make the move, and yeah, thank you for the interview. Happy to share my experience and my tips to everyone that's new in the game.
Amazing. And if anybody wants to connect with you and follow you and follow up with some questions, can they find you on LinkedIn or Twitter or TikTok? Where are you these days?
I'm too old for TikTok. No, you can find me on LinkedIn, JD Spinosa, and or you can just Google me and yeah, keep in touch.
Well, thanks so much again, JD. Really appreciate all the knowledge share here.
Absolutely. Okay.